Recent events have shed light on new studies have been put forward to that have been we're trying to map the inside of the Neanderthal skull, and so we can map the brain shape and therefore its function. There's an article that came out in News Network Archaeology, and from the 26th of last month, and we're going to discuss it today and see what insights and what any information we can get from the Neanderthals, and how it would have affected them and how it affects their relationship and their positioning in how they compare to us, in fact. So I'm going to share the article, and we will talk about it. So let me just share the screen, and we start off in the article. Scientists set eyes on Neanderthal brain. Now, scientists have for the first time set eyes on the three-dimensional Neanderthal brain in a form of a virtual model made to fit the empty, fossilized skulls of long-dead individuals, the study said Thursday, 26th of the 4th of last month. So the reconstructed organ confirms earlier observations, based more loosely on head size and shape, that Neanderthals had a larger brain than the early Homo H. sapien cousins, but with a smaller cerebellum, the lower part near the spine that controls balance and movement. Not just balance and movement. I know enough of anatomy that the cerebellum does control balance and movement, but also other features, like it says it could also involve the speech and learning. So having a small cerebellum does not necessarily affect speech and learning. They could just be reorganized. After all, they are enough distinct between sapiens and Neanderthalensis to basically to distinguish them. This distinction may have caused social cognitive differences between the near relatives. Yes, it could, and I like to say may have caused, and may explain why one went extinct while the other thrived. Not necessarily. That's a good, valid hypothesis. I'm not going to discount it. But it's not the only one. It's just one of the myriad and multifaceted distinctions and possible causes of them to go extinct. So, said Naomichi Ogihara of Keio University in Japan, who co-authored the study in the journal Scientific Reports. As usual, in the description I have linked to the study, so read it at your leisure. It's quite fascinating. But we will concentrate on this article because it's easier to read and it's easier to understand. And it's well summarized. The article's well summarized anyway. Although the differences could be subtle, such subtle differences may become significant in terms of natural selection. Absolutely, yes, they may. No argument there. He told AFP, the Australian Federated AFP. But nothing can be concluded yet without any correlation between the Neanderthal's brain organization and its eventual demise. Yes, absolutely. It's a valid hypothesis. It will, and it is being tested, as all other hypotheses are being tested, as to why Neanderthals became extinct and H. sapiens did not, and they thrived. So, but there's another question that Neanderthals lived in Europe for approximately, this fairly consistent data says, around 400,000 years. H. sapiens in our current form are about 60 to 70,000 years. H. sapiens in themselves have been pushed back to 300,000 years, the archaic Homo H. sapiens. Now, what will be of us in 200,000 years, or in modern H. sapiens, our current form, which is only less than 100,000 years, in a 300,000 years time? will we be replaced? Will we survive? So that's a good point of reference that we have to look at perspective. And so yeah, so Ojihara and his team combined the disciplines of physical anthropology, mechanical engineering, and neuroscience for their reconstruction. They used virtual casts to model the shape and size of 4 fossilized Neanderthal skull cavities and 4 ancient humans. Yes, they did virtuals. It's easy to do a virtual cast these days. There are laser tomographic mapping that is small enough to be able to map the inside of the shape of the skull, and therefore you just transfer it to computers, and there you have it. Another way to do it is magnetic resonance, MRIs or something, a magnetic resonance interferometry that basically slices layers of any part of our body, and that can be also done to reconstruct the brain casing and the brain itself. So this allowed the team to estimate what the brains would have looked like and how individual regions would have differed between the two species. Exactly. So after they've taken the casks, virtual or otherwise, they can compare them in 3D, which and even in color enhancement of certain regions to make it more easily readily distinguished between each other. So that's basically that's a good tool, and they have found, of course, that there are differences. The basic shape of Neanderthals is an elongated to the back of the skull, and it's a flattened instead of our vaulted globe-ish type shape. So of course the rearrangement, the positioning of certain regions would not be correspond exactly to the ours or to the ancient H. sapiens, the archaic ones. So it's a good tool, but they are comparable anyway. So we are far from understanding the brain of prehistoric humans. That are small advances as well. With every small advance is welcome, absolutely. Said French paleoanthropologist Antoine Balzeux of the study. He told AFP of the study. So, but he was not involved in the research. Neanderthals emerged in Europe and Central Asia and the Middle East, Western Asia, some 200,000 years ago. Well, 400,000 is more a better, between 400 and 200,000 years, as I've said before. And they vanished around, sometimes before 30,000, 35,000. We'll all accept that date. Coinciding roughly with the arrival of modern humans out of Africa, the last wave, our wave, around 45, 50,000 years ago. So yes, the two groups briefly overlapped and interbred, and today non-African people carry about 1.5 to 2.1%. It's higher than that. I've done videos on it. It's higher than that. It can be up to 4-ish%, depending on how the metrics that you use to quantify the percentage. It's up to 4 and a bit%. It's quite more than that. So yes. So long portrayed as knuckle dragging brutes. Totally wrong. Recent studies have started to paint a picture of Neanderthals as sophisticated beings who made art. Talked about that. Took care of the elderly. I talked about that. Buried the dead. Yes, absolutely. And may have been the first jewelers. Yes, I've talked about that as well. And they were also cannibals, as were we, as were any hominin. So, and that concludes this article. And so I made another short one because I like these short articles, and I know the sound is sort of fixed this time. There's just a little bit of background hissing that I will try to correct in later variables, but it's yes. So hello Malachite, John W. Muse, Dan Beach. How are you all? I'm going to end it here, and basically, thank you for coming along. I hope you liked my one of my favorite humans that existed, the Neanderthals, the superb people, superb. And till next time, good night, all.